Hello everyone, this is G and I'm back with another video. No face cam today because I've had a long day, I've had a long week and I'm real tired. And plus I want to hop into this video because there isn't really much to say about it. I think that it pretty much speaks for itself, although what it's saying is absolutely atrocious and disgusting. But I just wanted to briefly give my thoughts on it. So I hope everybody is well. I hope everyone's well. It's a pretty rainy day here, very muggy here in New York City, which I guess is to be expected. It's June and all, hurricane season. We always sort of get the heavy rains, which I guess is a blessing considering what happens to other countries and other parts of the U.S., especially Florida and Puerto Rico and whatnot at this time. So, for those who are living in those areas where they get the real bad rain and weather, my heart goes out to them. I hope they'll be okay. Now, if you're looking at or rather, if you're not looking at the screen, you should be looking at the screen, because this is important. We have a news journalist at IGN. This is literally her Twitter bio on her profile. It says, news journalist at IGN, ex Kotaku. Retired professional Rainbow Six Siege and Apex Legends player, and she has a Twitch TV link also. She goes by Kay, and her Twitter handle is Kirioni Macaroni. And here's what she says. This is literally what she wrote on Twitter. To my understanding, this is not a joke. This is not just kidding, bro, or anything like that. This seems to be a sincere tweet. Now, she may change her mind after she gets backlash, or enough backlash, but this is what she has tweeted, right? And this is what's on the record. You see a flag of Japan, right? So you, the viewer. I, or rather her, right? I see pedophilia, racism, sexism, exploitation of children. Stop supporting anime and Japanese games. Hashtag boycott Japan. And then underneath it is a image of the Japanese flag, right? The rising sun. You would have thought, given that she works in the video game industry, given that so many video games come out of Japan, right, that she wouldn't be stupid enough to post something like this. I'm assuming she doesn't want to work at IGN anymore, because if I were her boss and I came across this, she'd be fired. I would not play this. Right, the moment you start talking about where you work and you post something like this, if they fire you, you brought it upon yourself. Right? Now, I'm not going to tell anyone what to do as regards IGN, but if you decide that you're never going to bother with them again, I certainly couldn't blame you. But especially given that there's been, increased talk and outcry over, anti-Asian bias, anti-Asian violence, hate crimes against Asians and whatnot, she still felt comfortable enough to not only just have these thoughts, which is just disgusting in and of itself, but she was comfortable enough to post this on a public forum like Twitter. There are Japanese people on Twitter. There are non-Japanese people on Twitter. And yet, she felt comfortable enough to post this clearly disgusting, racist statement, right? Saying that she sees pedophilia, racism, sexism, and exploitation of children when she looks at a flag of Japan. So, as Krogan Char so wonderfully pointed out here, I'm going to go to his tweet. There are 125 million people in Japan. She insulted all of them about as harshly as one can be insulted. Being called a racist, sexist pedophile is worse than any racial slur, she writes for IGN. Absolutely correct, Krogenchar. There's really nothing else you can say about it. She just insulted a country of 125 million people and accused them collectively of these terrible things. First of all, because she's talking about anime and Japanese games. Honey, the American entertainment industry is just as guilty of these things, of these terrible, terrible things. Every country, unfortunately, has a very checkered past with these issues: racism, sexism, the exploitation of children and other vulnerable peoples, pedophilia, and whatnot. Every country has a less than stellar record on these issues, which is why you address the issues. It's not a Japanese thing. It's not an American thing. It's a humans be absolutely awful sometimes thing. That's what it is. It is the expression of the darker side of the human condition. And racist, I don't like to swear, but I'm going to swear. Racist bullshit like this does not help anything. It doesn't help deal with pedophilia and racism and sexism in Japan. And it doesn't help deal with it here, or in Canada, or in China, or in India, or any other place in the world. All this is simply hate. Pure, unbridled, anti Japanese hate. That's all this is. No. We don't need to boycott Japan. Remember the United States of America, which has a very, very, very checkered past when it comes to dealing with Japan, to the point where, we dropped 2 atomic bombs on them in 2 cities, and we're still, you know, trying to atone for that? No, we don't need to boycott Japan. We need to boycott the type of racist, disgusting thinking that even allows these type of thoughts to form in your mind, and then being so comfortable as to think, I can go on Twitter, I can go on this public forum and say this absolutely anti-Asian, anti-Japanese, absolute trash, say that all I see with my very, jaded lenses is horrible, horrible things when I look at the Japanese flag, and think that this is an okay statement to make, okay thoughts to have. People talk about, racism is alive and well in America. I don't know if it's alive and well in America, but it certainly is alive, and it's being perpetuated by people like her. Are all of IGN or Kotaku guilty? No, of course not. Same way not every white person is guilty of this. Same way not every woman is guilty of this. But this particular idiot is guilty of being, at least in this particular post, an absolute racist piece of trash. Human garbage. And here's the thing. It would be different if she were saying, I don't want to support creators in anime and manga who are guilty of pedophilia, racism, sexism, exploitation of children. That would be fine. People would understand that. Let me give you an example, right? The mangaka for Rurouni Kenshin, right? Nobuhiro Watsuki, right? Child porn charges. In November 2017, police found DVDs with footage of naked girls in their early teens in Watsuki's Tokyo office. Tokyo police raided Watsuki's home as part of an investigation into a purchase of child pornography. The search uncovered DVDs containing videos of naked girls less than 18 years of age. He was referred to prosecutors over possession of child porn on November 21st. The serialization of Rurouni Kenshin, the Hokkaido arc, was put on hiatus after the details of Watsuki's charges were made public. In February 2018, Watsuki was fined 200,000 yen. The Hokkaido arc resumed serialization in June 2018. And then here's an article from, if it goes over, from Kotaku, right? Rurouni Kenshin creator fined for child porn possession, right? Then it says last fall, and this was written several years ago, naturally. This is written in February of 2018. Right, it says last fall, Rurouni Kenshin creator Nobuhiro Watsuki was charged with possession of child porn. Today, Nikon Sports reports he was fined 200,000 yen, $1,870 American, for violating the country's child porn law. Okay, right? He was convicted. Right? He was convicted and he paid a fine. Right? So if she had said, "Hey, I don't want to support this particular creator because he was convicted of child porn charges, uh, and I don't want to support his work," people would understand that. That's a perfectly reasonable stance to have. Right? Some may argue that you should separate the art from the artist, but I think most people would understand that there are just certain sins, certain crimes that are just too serious that you cannot separate the work from what the person did. And if she had simply said, "Hey, I don't want to support this particular mangaka because of what he was found guilty of and paid a fine for," I would totally understand that. Because that's saying, "I don't want to support this person for what they did and what they were convicted of." It would not be this indictment of manga or anime or Japan as a whole. It would be saying, "I don't want to support this particular individual who happens to be a Japanese mangaka." People would get that. Nobody would have complained. But when you damn and you label and you other and you vilify and you demonize an entire group of people, a literal country, when you do this with this statement, then yeah, people, Japanese and not, are going to clap back. And they should. She deserves every bit of the business that people have given her and people will continue to give her. Because this is simply racist trash. Stop supporting anime and Japanese games. I believe that this is truly fueled by, because there's this movement, and I mentioned Jerry Conway a few videos ago, right? Right, there's this movement in the American like geek media, or at least certain elements of it, like in comics and whatnot, to sort of trash on anime and manga and say it's problematic because of the way the art style depicts young girls and all this other stuff. Right? It's BS. Right? Manga is by and large completely outclassing the American comic industry, the mainstream industry at this time, because Japanese anime and manga is giving fans what they want. It's giving fans adventure. It's giving fans good art, good stories, cool characters, fan service, and a whole bunch of other things. Japanese media that has become popular in America is providing American fans with what the comic industry has thoroughly rejected. And now some comic people, to be clear, like Jerry Conway, right, are upset. And apparently someone who works at a friggin' video game uh, 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 magazine, website, whatever the heck IGN is now, right, is just gonna go flat out racist. What? Because people like anime and Japanese video games and manga? So, because you can't actually make a good product, you decide to just damn and vilify a whole nation of people? Stupid, 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 in my personal opinion. Now, here's the thing, this lady needs Jesus, she needs Buddha, she needs every religious figure who could possibly help her, because you've got to have a lot of hate in your heart to write this, to think this, even for a moment, right? And I know some are saying, "Well, she's just saying this to get attention. She's just trolling." I don't care, right? She wants attention, well, she's getting it. And I don't care if she gets upset. I don't care if people curse her out or tell her off, because when you say something like this, you brought it upon yourself and you deserve it. But she needs to look into her heart into her history and really ask herself why she looks at a whole country of people. These are her words, right? She's saying that when she looks at the Japanese flag, she sees pedophilia and racism and sexism and all this. So she needs to do some soul searching, which no one else can do for her but her. She needs to into herself, do some soul searching, some self reflection, some introspection, and ask herself why, when she sees the Japanese flag, she sees all these terrible social ills. She needs to ask her herself that when she looks at the Japanese flag, the first thing she thinks of is the absolute worst in what humanity has to offer. Honey, why are you only watching the Chapter Black tape? Remember Chapter Black from Yu Yu Hakusho? It was the account of all of humanity's worst acts. What did that do? That turned Shinobu Sensui insane. It turned anybody who saw it into a violent nutcase, right? Because all it did was just depict humanity at its worst. But if you're familiar with Yu Yu Hakusho, then you'll know that at the end of that arc, it was revealed that there was a companion tape called Chapter White, which was the accounting of all of the best in humanity, right? That, in my opinion, is how we have to look at people, whether it's individuals or whether it's countries, right? Especially a country's history with very hot button topics like these, right? Because every country has their chapter black and has their chapter white. Every country has the absolute worst that they have done collectively as a people as regards these issues, and then they have their best at what they have done when it comes to these particular issues. If you want a more well-rounded look at a particular nation and its history with these or any other issues, you need to look at the good and the bad, chapter black and chapter white, the rough and the smooth, the horror and the recovery. Right? You have to know heaven and hell to understand. But she's only focused on chapter black. She's only focused on the dark because her heart, it seems, or at least her vision, is filled with nothing but hate. So for her own sake, I sincerely hope that she does what actually many people did back when it was okay to openly hate Japanese people. Learn something, maybe get some culture, maybe meet a Japanese person, maybe actually go to Tokyo or some other city and actually learn that, not all Japanese people are guilty of these terrible things. Maybe a little bit of culture will change her mind. You never know. I don't believe, or rather, I should put it like this: up until a person is dead, I firmly believe that a person can change. Now, whether or not that change is positive or negative is up to that person. But I firmly believe that a person can change so long as they are still breathing. So, for her sake, I sincerely hope she changes for the better. I do believe that is my dinner. So, I'm going to end the video here. Please let me know what you think, and I will see you all in the next one. Have a good day or night wherever you are. Bye.